Okay, let's see if this works. I did a live stream. I tried a live stream some time ago, but the internet bandwidth here was so bad. It was just choppy and not very good. So I gave up on that at the time. Um, but yeah, I think the internet has improved here a little bit. Let's hope it has. Um, Let me know in the comments anyway. So I've just got a little bit of a running sheet here. So um, if this live stream works out to be be effective in terms of internet and yeah, everybody's enjoying it. I'd like to sort of do it as a regular thing, as an opportunity for people to ask me questions. I get emails all the time from all over the place. Ask me about stuff, and it's just the workload to answer all that is, like during the regular working week is significant, and so I'd rather. Um, oh, thanks, Peter. The stream works fine, he says. Yeah, so I'd rather do something like this where, I can set up a block of time and answer the questions accordingly. And that way, if multiple people have the same question, which is often the case, then I don't have to answer, lots of people asking the same question. You can all just go, listening to the live stream. So we had a video that I put up last week on the Superstrata 3D printed bicycle. Now there were a lot of comments on that. The majority of people thought that it's never going to work, and it's just a scam and it's a con and all this sort of stuff. So, look, I mean, it's hard to know. As I asked in those questions, I can see a range of technical limitations from where they're at the moment, and so until those technical things get solved, um, I don't know how they're going to actually put that together in the time frame that they're saying. You've got the bike design. I don't know why they've designed it like that. So I think the base technology. I mean, there were some comments there saying, the technology from Arrivo is solid, and that might be the case. Certainly, looking at reading the white paper, things looked good from that, but they were based on like making a flat panel or something like that. So it's significantly different making a simple flat panel or something like that than to making a tubular concept bike. So that was one of the technical things which thanks, Radio Snivens. Yeah, Quincy. I remember that show from, that was a long time ago. The forensics. So there's a big difference between making like test panels, flat, simple shapes, and a relatively complex part like a bicycle, which has got multiple load directions and all these sorts of other variables, which, and then you've got the surface finishing and all those aspects. So, there's a lot of things to go, to go wrong, I suppose. And yeah, so in the time frame they've got, so, I mean, some of the claims I thought were a little bit unrealistic as well, like, with the claim strength, when they say the strength to weight ratio is 15 times greater than titanium. So if that's the case, why isn't the frame lighter than a titanium bike, for instance? So, obviously design comes into it, but there's a lot of things there. So, the other thing I'll touch on is, is that tech used in any reputable manufacturer? It's hard to know. There isn't much out there. I did search. I did do a Google search on that, and certainly I couldn't find any production items at this point. So they do say that their primary markets are aerospace and defence, and so they may have a foot in the door there. I'm not sure. I certainly haven't come across anything. So yeah, off topic. Oh, you retracted that message. Okay, I was just about to answer your question, Peter. No, I don't like titanium wheel skewers. Actually, I think they're too flexy. They're holding your wheel on. Like, you want whatever's holding your wheel on to stay on. You don't want it. You don't want an elastic material. That's my take on it. Yeah, thoughts on resin infusion for bicycle application? Yeah, that's interesting because I'm actually working on a project at the moment on that. So so preliminary testing. We're about to be making some parts in the next, maybe even as early as next week. We might make some test parts, and then we'll see. But it's certainly an applicable process. If I'm pouring out sweat on my bike while on my trainer, should I be looking at tie for replacement bolts or regularly just replace aluminium? Well, you can use tie. Titanium has got very good corrosion problems, but it's more like I wouldn't be so much worried about the bolts. I'd be more worried about the aluminium inserts, like the riv nuts in the frame. In those applications and other things. So there's ways around that. So treatments on that. I do want to do a video on the water bottle insert replacements, because they're prime suspect for corrosion, and you've got the galvanic corrosion. You've got often it's hidden sort of under the bottle cage, and so if the bottle's leaking, you're getting moisture and stuff going in there. And there's a whole heap of videos out there on how to replace those riv nut inserts in a carbon frame, but I've yet to see one that's done properly, and every single one that I've seen misses some crucial steps. So that's another one I want to do a video of. The other thing is, just looking at my running sheet, I don't want to drag this on too long, but a whole bunch of new bikes have been launched in the last week or so, and there was, let me just go back. I made a comment. I put a post up in the community post. So I want to sort of interact with that a bit more as well. So use the community section on YouTube, and so I put a post up last week saying new bikes being launched, stiffer yet more compliant, lighter and now aero, and I didn't even have to read the press release, because every year it's the same stuff going over and over and over. And then the whole bunch of comments, it's just like, geez, if 20 years ago the bikes must have been so flexible and so unaero and all this sort of stuff. And because I mean, if every year the bike is, 10-20% stiffer, or it's just like, yeah, after a number of years, you've got a big increase in stiffness there, which is probably unrealistic. So, so let's just sort of keep that in perspective. What else? Oh, here was a funny one about the bike brands having a clause in their warranty that if the bike comes to me, your warranty gets void because so you got to give it back to them, so I can't cut it up and do a YouTube video of it. And it's actually a thing, because I have noticed in the last little while that it's more difficult. It's more difficult to get these newer bikes when they get scrapped, because the brand wants it back. And so yeah, it's I don't have as much access to scrap bikes as I used to. So one of the things I'm looking at is purchasing some bikes to cut up, and how that would work. And because the thing is, if I contact a brand and say, hey, can you send me a bike to do a review on? Well, who's to say it's just a random bike off the production line? Like, have they gone through it? Have they scanned it? Have they done whatever? To make sure, because I know that's a thing that I've been in factories, in bike factories in Asia, and working on a project, and they go, oh, don't worry about the testing. We make special version for the testing, and everything's okay. And it's just like, you shouldn't tell me that sort of stuff, because now I don't want to do business with you. So that's sort of so the process and the mechanism for getting these bikes, that's the interesting thing. So and even if I use some sort of if I use an alias name, if it gets sent to my workshop, that might cotton on to that. So it's some sort of process of getting these bikes without yes, because I mean, what I really want to do is get a random bike off the production line, the same as what you would buy if you were buying one. Like, you're just, you're not getting a special bike that's had any special treatment. You're just getting one that's come off the production line. And as I see when I scan the bikes, when bikes come in, if people have had a crash, or they think they've damaged their bike or whatever, I find a lot of variability in the bikes. And I mean, some brands are better than others, but probably a good example is if you look at Hambini's videos, he talks about how every look bike that he's seen has been fantastic. And my experience has been somewhat somewhat different. So are all the good ones going to Europe and the lousy ones coming to Australia? I don't know, but so there's certainly variables in that. So I'd like to I'd like to see some sort of mechanism of doing that. There's a whole bunch of questions coming in now. So I'll try and keep up with some of these. Is a damaged aluminium frame repairable, or is the material too thin? That's a good question, because I've actually done carbon patch repairs on aluminium frames, and that's probably a better way to repair the frame than to try and weld it, because if you weld it, you change the heat affected zone, heat treatment, all that sort of stuff, which is beyond the scope of a typical frame repair. So so you can do a composite patch repair, which a long time ago, when I worked at Defence in the 90s, and we repaired a Navy frigate with a carbon patch repair, because where the damage, where the crack was in the superstructure, was all the electronics and stuff like that, and to do the high frequency electrical, from welding, high frequency RF from welding, meant that all that electrical cabling would have had to be removed and all that sort of stuff. And let's just do a composite patch repair. And as far as I know, that's still operational. There's been no problems with that. So so that's the thing. And in the 90s, there was a whole bunch of Cannondales, which they all cracked at the chainstay near the dropout due to the cantilevered sort of design that they had. And one of the local race teams was sponsored by Cannondale, and I mean, how many of those did we fix? Like dozens. And they were then used. Like, the thing was, I remember it was just before the Herald Sun Tour race, and we had to repair a number of those bikes because they couldn't get replacement bikes for the race and all that sort of stuff. And so aluminium frame repair with composite is a thing. Look and time frames worth over, say, let's say specialized, which are made in China. Well, I sort of touched on the look. I've got a time Skylon here, which I'm going to actually do a review on. I've cut it up, actually. It's all ready to do a review, so keep your eyes out for that one. What advantages of through axles over quick release? Are they really stiffer? They are a bit stiffer, but the primary thing is the repeatability of the wheel position for your disc brake alignment. It's a much more repeatable interface, so your brakes line up better. That's probably the primary advantage of it. I won't buy another carbon fiber frame before they make them with structures in the tubes themselves to stiffen up the frames. I don't agree with that. Tubular structure is actually really efficient. Have you heard much about materials like nylon as the matrix rather than typical resins? Yeah, thermoplastic composites have been a thing for a long time. Again, back in the 90s, we did a project where we were making a rib demonstrator out of a nylon carbon material, and just press forming it. So there's a lot of advantages. It's very tough. It's recyclable as well. So so a whole bunch of advantages to it. But the processing is a bit different. What lightweight mountain bike carbon crankset do you find the best value? Well, what's your definition of lightweight? You're talking, cross country lightweight, or weight weenie lightweight, or enduro lightweight. Lots of variables there. I've used XTR myself for many years and never had a problem. That's, other people might have other experiences. What brand bike has improved the most in quality control in the last few years? That's a really good question. I think, across the board, the bikes have improved. Which specific brand? I don't know. Because the brands are made in different factories. Like, you can have one brand doing different models in different factories, and so you can have one model which is good, and then others not so good. So I was going cross country. Yeah, so cross country mountain bike. Yeah, okay. Yeah, as I said, I use XTR. I mean, how light? I mean, durability is king. That's that's the key. You don't want things to fail. Certainly don't want a crank to fail. If a crank fails and you get bits of metal in your ankle, or I mean, you have to remember all your power is going through your crank, and things fail when you don't want them to fail. Typically, like they're not gonna fail when you're just rolling along. They're gonna fail. Like a crank's gonna fail when you're really pushing it hard, and that's when the consequences of failure are greater. So, okay, will you publish Cinarello versus Pinarello? That was the next topic on my list. I have just about finished the editing, and that will be uploaded in the next day. So keep an eye out for it. It will be coming in, as I said, in the next day, maybe even tomorrow morning. If I get stuff done tonight on it, get that finished. It's really close. I just need to do a final run through. I know that's taken a long time to do. I mean, as you're probably aware, well, you may not be, but this whole COVID thing in Melbourne has really ramped up again. We're having lots of cases, lots of new cases every day, and more people are starting to die. So there's restrictions, like there's more restrictions in lockdowns and things like that. So, so that's sort of been a little bit of a limitation in recent times. So, what else is there? There's probably. I mean, I'll start winding it up now. But as I said, keep an eye out for the Cinarello video that is coming. Here's a prediction. Cinarello is better. Pinarello paint is thicker than the carbon, so thin in some areas you can put your finger through it. Well, you have to wait and see to the cut up, and you'll find out. But some of the bikes, on some of the bikes, the paint is thicker than the carbon, which is a bit crazy. But some people are more concerned about what the bike looks like than what the structure is. So okay, I'll answer a couple more quick questions, and then I'll wind it up. Any thoughts on the HopeTech UK cycling Olympic track bike? Yeah, I've got lots of thoughts on that. It's the whole aerodynamic principle. In my other workshop room, I've sort of through the thing. I can actually look at a fork which I made like a prototype of to test in the wind tunnel. When was that? Maybe 5, 6, probably maybe at least 6 years ago. And the whole point of it is to line up the airflow with the legs, because the person riding the bike has got the that's where the significant drag is from. Like you put a bike in the wind tunnel, or I mean, you can't do a test on the velodrome without a rider anyway, but you put a bike on its own in the wind tunnel, and its drag is actually pretty low. You put a rider on the bike, and that's what pushes the drag up. So it's a matter of how to integrate the rider onto the machine as efficiently as possible. So yeah, lots of thoughts on that. is there actually much difference between the carbon used, Trek 700 versus 800, Specialized Fact 12 versus 13? Who knows? Like they're not publishing any data on that. The what would be interesting, and this is something I have spoken to a couple of people about, would be to do a proper material analysis. So take a slice out of the frame, do a material analysis on that. So you can basically burn off the resin, and then get the individual fibers and run them through a mechanical testing, and you can then determine what the mechanical properties of the fiber is, and then identify what grade of fiber it is and all that sort of stuff. So I'd love to do that. That'd be a really interesting project to do. Obviously, the resources required, I'd need to be making, I'd need to be funding that from some sort of source, as opposed, because it's a time-consuming project. So, I mean, one way to do that would be through a university as a student project. So the students get to do sort of a real-world example, and we all get to have a look at the data. And so, I could review that. So if there's any universities out there who are keen to collaborate on something like that, give us a shout, and we'll see what we can arrange. What else? Watching your videos in Hambini has scared me away from purchasing a new carbon frame, and I had an SLR01. Okay. It's not the matter. Yeah, it's not the intention of to scare people. It's not the intention at all. The intention is to educate people on trying to be aware of what to look for and things like that. And it was interesting on the post I did about with the new bikes being launched, the community post, and I had a person put a comment in that they think that they did a good job on the design, and I assume the person's from BMC, and they may have done a good job, but it's, can the factory reproduce that repeatably at that quality? I did have a discussion in the comments some time ago with a guy who was adamant that the bottom brackets, one of the bottom bracket videos I did, and how I said that it was the press fit is actually a superior design than a threaded bottom bracket, and he got quite aggressive, saying, "Oh no, it's a bad design because it can't be made properly." And it's just like, well, you're sort of missing the point, because it's in every single other application of that same design, it's not a problem. So it's obviously the execution of that which is the problem. When every other application, and even a lot in the bike industry, like when I've got press fit bottom brackets, or direct bearings fit in the bikes that I've been making for myself, and I've done that for 20 years. I've never had a problem. So it comes down to caring. If you care how it all goes together, and you do your quality tests, you're not going to have a problem. So so don't be scared of your bike. Get informed, and that's what that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to inform people to make educated decisions on the bikes that they want to ride. Hambini has a different sort of style to him. he yeah, he's probably a little bit more colourful in especially in his language. I'm not sure how he gets around all the YouTube language content stuff that they ask you to fill now. So maybe that'll tone him down. I don't know, but it's certainly entertaining, some of it. Yeah. Anyway, the new Cervelo Caledonia has a U-shaped steering. Yeah, I actually haven't had a chance to look at that new Caledonia. Hopefully, hopefully it's better than the S5 design around the whole steerer tube and head tube junction. Yeah, let's let's hope it's better than the S5. Yeah, it is tricky to do press fit into carbon. And yeah, but it's not that hard. Like, yeah, you have to. It's like any. You just got to know what you're doing, don't you? If you know what you're doing, things aren't that hard. So yeah. All right, we'll leave it at that. We've gone over 30 minutes. I probably didn't want to. Yeah, it's probably long enough before you get sick of listening to me. As I said, keep an eye out for the Cinderella video launching in the next day. Put your comments in below. Yeah, as I said, I want to do more of this sort of stuff. Let me know what you think of that idea. If you want more of this sort of interactive sort of stuff, and yeah, we'll run with that. All right, we'll end it there. Friday afternoon, just about 6 p.m. here, so time to head off. And we've got a weekend coming up. I think the weather's supposed to be nice. I'll see if I go for a ride with. It's easy. My daughter's a roadie. Yeah, so she's 14. She's riding on the road bike now. We did 100 k's together last week. Again, so we've been going for a few longer rides. My son's a mountain biker and dirt jumper, and he's 12, and so yeah, maybe I'll do a road ride on Saturday, mountain bike on Sunday. What's not to like? Some good family time. All right. Yeah, now you can throw away your new titanium skewers. Yeah, well, I wouldn't ride on them. Like, use them for when you're weighing your bike, and then replace them with something that actually holds your wheel on really well. That's my take. Anyway, good night, or good morning wherever you are, and we'll see you again soon. Okay, bye.